My name is Charles Miller. I'm the Director of Strategic Alliances and Business Development for Salinta, a hybrid true potato seed company based in the Netherlands. I'm in Kenya this week to review some of the products that we have in our breeding pipeline to decide which of them we want to put in release with KEFIS so that we can provide better products to the growers in Kenya. So Salinta's potatoes are hybrid potatoes, and using hybrid breeding, we're able to target the traits that are helpful to the growers. Those could be traits that are resistant to various diseases. They could be quality traits for the tubers. And we can, by using hybrid breeding, make those adjustments in the varieties very quick compared to traditional potato breeders. And this is traditional hybrid, so it's non-GMO. These new varieties are delivered via true seeds, true botanical seeds, rather than seed tubers, which are used traditionally by growers. Salinta is the developer of hybrid potatoes. We were the first to be able to create hybrids with potatoes. And with that transformation, now we're also able to offer botanical seeds to the growers. And those come with huge benefits, in our opinion. Traditionally, the potato industry uses tubers. Those tubers are bulky, they're perishable, and that creates extra cost and risk for growers, where, for example, to plant 1 acre of seed tubers, you require more than 1 ton of tubers. So you need a small truck to transport them from the seed tuber production areas in the west to perhaps your farm in the central part of Kenya. And this is expensive. With botanical seeds, think of them as seeds just like maize. They're quite small, and they can easily be stored on your kitchen table in your house. And that means that the transport is almost negligible. Also, you can store these seeds for many years, 2 to 3 years easily, just like you can with any vegetable seed or maize seed given the right conditions. That means that when the season is ready in your area, you can immediately plant, rather than waiting until the season's ready and then hoping that seed tubers will be available for purchase. So Salinta and KEFIS, we've been working together for 3 to 4 years, I suppose, in order to firstly understand the needs of the market, but then to bring the right products to the market that fits those needs. And at the end of 2024, KEFIS released 3 of our varieties, Soli 7, Soli 12, and Soli 15, for access to the market at large. These are the first true potato seed-based hybrid potatoes to be marketed in all of Africa. And I think Kenyans can be quite proud of the forward-thinking regulators and Ministry of Agriculture that they have here, that are working to bring new products that are better for the growers as quickly as possible. One of those varieties, Soli 15, has multiple genes of resistance to late blight, so it's specifically geared towards those organic farmers, toward those smaller farmers that have difficulty accessing chemicals, but still have a market for potatoes in their region. If we look at these varieties, they bring high quality tubers, which is good for consumption. They bring reliable, stable yield. Late blight is responsible for many of the issues that are faced not just by Kenyans, but globally by potato growers. This fungus requires most growers to spray even weekly in order to maintain their crop. But with these new varieties, while we still recommend you spray, you can easily reduce your spray regime by 50%, maybe 75%, and still maintain a healthy, disease-free crop. This means that the growers have an increased probability of stabilized yield and also reduced input cost, which overall creates income stability and food security stability. Look, this is an excellent choice for organic farmers because many organic farmers don't grow potatoes. Why? because of late blight. And I can give you one good example of an organic farmer in this Nairobi area in Tigoni, a farm called Milango Farm. Now they are able to grow potatoes. In the past, and they've been a farm for over 20 years, they have never successfully grown potatoes. But with this technology and with our true seeds, every week they're delivering potatoes to the market. If I think about the challenges faced by growers of potatoes in Africa, and more specifically in Kenya, one of the biggest challenges is access to quality starting material. And why is that an issue? Again, potatoes traditionally are bulky seed tubers. They have limited storage life. And in order to extend that life, you need cold storage. You need it readily available. And that simply doesn't exist in most of Africa in the scale that's required to supply the seed necessary each season. To overcome that, we're introducing our true potato seeds. Again, they're exactly like any vegetable seed, any maize seed. They're a botanical seed. That means you can go to your local agrovet shop, you can talk to your local vegetable seed distributor, and they can access these seeds for you. You can keep them at home and be ready to plant when your season is ready. And just to be clear, I'm not an agronomist, but I'll still say that with potato farming in particular, it's very important to maintain the quality of your land. And that means that you need to be careful of the water and the water quality that's put there if you have access to irrigation. You also need to make sure that with the chemicals that are being used, you're maintaining what is recommended by the manufacturer. And also crop rotation is quite important so that you don't continue to grow the same crop, which may actually increase the disease structure that's in your soil. And if that happens, then overall in the long term, you see reduced yields. So it's about a holistic management of your farm and the products that you produce. Now look, climate change is something that's impacting all of us, and it's impacting very directly farmers. Because I can tell you, I grew up on a farm, and the climate that we face at my family's farm is very different today than it was when I was a younger man. And what's necessary is that the seed industry, that the chemical industry around agriculture start to truly understand the struggles that the farmers face with changing periods of rain, changing temperatures as well at different seasons that we're not expecting. That means that, for example, in potatoes, this last season should have been more wet than it was, but it was dry and it was warm. That means that farmers should be selecting varieties perhaps for a different type of environment than they traditionally think about. They should be much more into finding the right variety. And at Salinta, that's one of the strong points of our hybrid breeding. We can breed very specifically for dry, warm climates and production of better potatoes with that type of climate. Also, I mentioned earlier the late blight resistance. That is definitely needed when you have longer periods of rainfall, which we saw 1 year ago in Kenya. We saw a quite extended period of cool and wet weather. In that season, potato yields were dramatically lower across this country than they are on average. But now, with the access to these new varieties, farmers can make those kind of decisions and hopefully stabilize their yields. Agriculture as a whole is struggling to attract young people into its business, let's say, because it's not really the kind of business most people want. They want to live in the city, work in an office, and they don't see that as part of agriculture. But the thing we have to remember is that without agriculture, we don't have food. And so we need to find a way to attract these young people into our industry. And I think there's a really good way to do that. And in Europe, we're seeing a change now. People want to know where their food comes from. They want to be attached to that production. And by creating that awareness that, hey, If we want quality French fries, if we want quality potato chips, at the other side, we need quality starting material for those potatoes, and we need to manage the growing of those potatoes in a very reasonable and very resilient way so that we maintain the land, so that those growers can make a profit and we can supply the high quality food. And by creating this awareness of a system approach, then I think that starts to attract many more young people into this industry. And certainly in Europe, we're seeing that, and it's created a true change in what we're doing. We even have now specific universities and specific high schools geared towards agriculture, something also that's here in Kenya as well. And whenever I come here, I'm always happy to see how many young people are coming into agriculture. Of course, we can use more, but I think we're seeing the change here as well. Most of the industries in the world need to change in order to be more sustainable. We talked about climate change, and that climate change impacts us every day in many different levels. And that also means that the potato industry needs to change. And one of those changes we believe at Solenta is to transform the starting material from seed tubers to true botanical seeds. We believe that this is significantly more sustainable and will bring significant benefits to all the stakeholders in the value chain.